like, do me.
Intro this guy. And what are we getting into? The...
All right, okay, video's done. All right, that's all we want to mention. Yeah,
and plus eight.
Red mate, this is Chris.
This is Anne. If you haven't done it already, hit that subscribe button, switch the notification bell on, get involved in the content as early as it's dropping.
Yeah, don't want to miss anything. You don't.
True story.
You don't. Trust me. You don't want to miss anything.
Yeah, what are we getting into today then? What's the hot topic?
We're going to talk about one man in particular. I mean, based on your shirt, you might not be a big fan of his, but I think as a player, I mean, every football fan, I think, should kind of respect this guy for kind of what he's done in the game. That man is Wayne Rooney. Scouts guy.
Yeah, wrong side, probably.
Yeah, wrong side, unfortunately. He's obviously Everton fan growing up, boyhood. Played for Everton, made his way to United, had a pretty successful time there, and then fortunate enough to go back and play season.
Fortunate enough?
Well, I guess that's just something he wanted to do. I mean, everyone's got their own things that they like. But yeah, he obviously went back there for a year. Or maybe he just kind of wanted to tick that off or give something back to the fans, or had his own personal agenda there. Yeah, I think he's obviously had a pretty successful career, both for club level and then also for England. So
based on that club career, do you want to quickly go through some of the stats? I've prepared some earlier.
All right, you go for I would like to, if you wouldn't mind.
So based on those ones, we've got 491 appearances in the Premier League. So that is pretty high up there.
Be up there.
Yeah.
Debut at 16, eh?
Yeah. Had a few injuries and a few niggles here and there. But yeah, that's a lot of games just in the Premier League alone.
Yeah, because he obviously moved to the MLS later in his career and stuff.
Yeah. Goals, he's currently sitting second of all time in the Premier League with 208 goals. So massive to get in that 100 club twice.
Yeah,
and plus eight.
He got in the 104 club twice.
Whoa! Yeah, or he got in the one club 208 times.
Yeah, okay. We can be here all day.
Okay. Assists 103, which puts him at third of all time in the Premier League.
Not bad.
Pretty decent there.
Not bad.
He won 284 of the games he played in the Premier League and lost 108. So pretty good win ratio there as well. He was Premier League champion 5 times, which kind of makes me feel a bit sick. Just thinking about those ones. He was a player of the season in 2009-10.
Champions League, surely, one?
Just was talking about the Premier League there, but...
Oh, okay.
Wait, do you want me to keep listening? Like FA Cups, League Cups?
No, I mean, that's obviously a big trophy. That's a major headline.
Yeah, but I was trying to limit how much we spoke about.
Alright, video's done. Alright, that's all we want to mention.
These are all Premier League stats.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
We'll leave it there.
Forget us said it.
Yeah. Want to note, which you'll enjoy, he got sent off 3 times in his career in the Premier League.
Why am I enjoying that one?
I just thought I'd put it in there.
Okay. Yeah.
It is an unfortunate thing to say, and I guess maybe something why we want to talk about this is he's possibly one of the most underrated players I can think of. I think within the Premier League, you could really make a bit of an argument for him being the greatest ever Premier League player.
Yeah.
And I don't enjoy saying that, but I just, for some reason, whether it's because he played for United and he's obviously a Scouser and the rivalry into City, playing for Everton, a low-down club, and people not necessarily giving him the credit he deserves when he played there. Obviously, at 16, bursting onto the scene, being incredible. England not doing well is a stick that he's beaten with, which, is not really his fault too much of the time. I think
England's top goal scorer.
Has Harry Kane overtaken that yet?
I think at time of recording, Kane's like 1 or 2 off.
Okay, yeah. So, anyway, ludicrous amounts there. Lots of England caps as well. Man United's top goal scorer. So, yeah, just unbelievable player, but for some reason doesn't seem to get the credit he deserves.
Yeah, I agree with that. Obviously, as the Liverpool fans here, you just kind of got to turn around and say, no, like respect to this guy. Like, he was great. I know every time we played him, he's kind of the one player that you're not scared of, but you're kind of worried about, he can score so many goals. He was kind of floating between like playing up front as like a bit of a number 10 and a little bit deeper at times. But he's just got like a style of play that's so aggressive and he's so physical and driven and determined. He just works so hard. He's one of those players like back in the day that was just kind of always pressing, always running. And he's just got this like real fighter attitude.
Yeah.
A big thing about him, you know, he's a boyhood Everton fan playing for that. He's then left them to United, which, you know, those two clubs aren't necessarily huge rivals, but at the time, anyone kind of going there, like that's a pretty big statement or a bit of a betrayal to like your home fans and whatnot. But he probably recognised pretty quick, like, you know, they were the best team at the time. And if he wants a successful playing career and he wants those trophies to take home and those medals, with all respect, like he's not going to get anything at Everton. Like they're not going to be challenging. Definitely not then.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like you said, he burst onto the scene at 16. Like at Everton, he was like by far their best player. Like scoring like crazy goals. Like the confidence that he was going into games with, like shooting from distance and things like that, and just not shying away from any tackles or any other like big name players. And he's just like this bull. But yeah, I mean, his stats speak for themselves. I guess there's obviously like small bits of controversy that have also followed him around a little bit, which maybe people might look past him for those reasons. But I think a big reason is maybe he wasn't doing any of this like flary stuff. He was just like I said, like just working hard, just doing all the gritty stuff. And he's just like the perfect player for any team.
Yeah, I think something I like to always put for the Steven Gerrard kind of argument as being the best midfielder or whatever you want to say in those arguments of, you know, Gerrard, Scholes, Lampard or any debate like that was Gerrard could play any position on the pitch, maybe not goalkeeper, but yeah, but I genuinely think Stevie G could play any position on the pitch and he would have been world class at that position. I think the same has to be said for Wayne Rooney. And I'm a big fan of players who can play in different positions and play them well and just get on with it. You know, how many times did we see Wayne Rooney playing on the left wing or playing central midfield towards the end of his career or pretty much just playing out of position to accommodate other players? I think famously they started Ronaldo up front and him on the left wing in one of the Champions League finals. And he just does the job because, you know, he's that reliable player with no matter where you play him, he's going to give you that 8 out of 10 sort of performance.
He's versatile.
Yeah, but beyond versatile, like he's exceptionally good within that versatility. That's probably one thing or a big pro or a big bonus for me when I look at a player like that is even when we're putting him out of position, he's still incredible.
When you mentioned him being underrated, I know when I've seen like those videos that people do or like team sheets where they talk about like greatest ever Premier League 11 and stuff like that, like if you're doing a 4-4-2 or even like a more modern day like a 4-3-3, which position are you fighting tooth and nail to put him in? Because he did play in so many different positions, you wouldn't be like, okay, he has to be the striker. You'd go, oh, okay, chuck in like Henry or, you know, Shearer. Okay, let's go with the centre mid. You know, you could quickly look at like the best in their positions, and he's just kind of like so great in kind of like multiple positions. So maybe his name is just maybe second or third best, but in every position and across the board. And as a player, you think, oh, he's doing such a service for the team in kind of like, going out wide to allow someone to be somewhere else. And you know, maybe that's just one of the factors that's contributed as to why he might get overlooked. Because you kind of think, if you were to do like a modern day 4-3-3 and he is your first name on the team sheet, like what would you put him in?
Yeah, it is a tough question.
Yeah.
Because you could put him as a 9, you could put him as a 10.
Yeah.
You could be like, we'll squeeze him out on the right wing or whatever. But I think, again, like he's almost that good that now you're making adjustments because you can, rather than, you know, with like a Shearer as an example, you know, can be like, can we slot him on the right wing or whatever? Because you're just like, no, this guy's a striker.
Yeah, he has to be there.
He has to be there. Yeah, a Paul Scholes, like, maybe we can play this guy like here. No, this guy kind of has to play central midfield. Yeah, he's very underrated for me. He's the sort of player who I wish Liverpool had him in the teams. You know, obviously the fact that he wasn't, like, I didn't necessarily like him, but he was he's someone obviously being a Scouser as well. You're just like, man, if only he was red. Like,
Gerrard came out and said he's like so jealous. Like he's just kind of like a similar player, like similar kind of upbringing from the same city, but then he's just kind of made these other decisions or whatnot that's brought him so much success.
Yes.
And obviously those two over the years have kind of become friends because they've got so much in common and whatnot. But he just came out and said that, you know, at a club level where they are such big rivals, one's Liverpool, one's United, he just said he was kind of flooded with jealousy about what Rooney's gone on to achieve. Like he's a player that you would just love in your team. Like the aggression in the fight that he just brings. He's given 100% on the pitch. Like he's fighting for the club, for the badge.
I think there's that famous clip when he's playing for DC United, isn't it? Where it's in like the dying stages of the game. He tracks back, does a sliding tackle, takes a few touches, puts a long ball in. It's just like, that is just Wayne Rooney. Obviously at a depleted stage of his career at a lower level, but that is the epitome. Like he'll just run to the end, go through a brick wall for you, and can produce these magic moments when not too many other players can or would be doing it.
In an era where United have been so dominant, like the Premier League as a whole, the last few years City are now kind of like that team, but for the first 20-25 years of the Premier League, United are so obviously like the best team. How many have they got? Like 13 Premier Leagues or whatever it is. And for Rooney to be the highest goal scorer in that team, already is like speaks for itself. Yeah. I think in terms of kind of like these achievements that might be forgotten about, as well as like England's best ever player. Or not best ever player, but highest goal scorer. I think obviously with like saying he's underrated, like people probably recognise, he's a good player, but you see his name so often kind of left out in these conversations like best ever team or I think people are quick to say like an Henry or someone a bit nicer on the eye maybe. Definitely when as a Liverpool fan coming up against Rooney in a United shirt, I mean, he's like, you kind of worried the whole time he's definitely going to do something, going to get a goal or... Like, which one of your players are you going to back against him in like a one-on-one? Yeah. It's not many at all.
Yeah, I think an interesting point, and something we have raised in a previous video where we kind of touched on Haaland and where he sits in the greatest goal scorer category and also the greatest Prem player category. Wayne Rooney is currently second all-time top scorer within the Premier League.
Yeah.
We said for someone like Haaland, maybe it might be difficult to judge him as one of the best ever because the things he does additional to goal scoring might not quite be there.
Yeah.
Wayne Rooney is undeniable that he has the goal scoring, he's second, and he does everything and more you could possibly ever want from your forward player. He'll get in, he'll tackle, he'll track back, he'll do the running for other players. You know what I mean? Like he's providing assists continuously, third in the Premier League of all time for assists. He's not just scoring goals or running around doing stupid things. He's getting involved where it matters and doing it for other people as well. So I think it's one of those kind of conversations where for me, he simply doesn't get the respect he deserves. Even though he is viewed as this incredible player, surely we've got to be talking about easily one of the top 3 players in a Prem of all time.
Yeah, especially because like we mentioned he might be put out wide or playing like a more deeper midfield role. And then before you mentioned, like in terms of his stats, he's the second highest goal scorer. And people would probably sit here and go, oh no, like Shearer and Kane, they're much better. I mean, Kane obviously has the potential to beat Rooney, given he's currently still playing. But how many people are actually giving Rooney the credit he deserves as a goal scorer? Because he's doing like the most important thing a team needs to do. And that's kind of floating around all these different positions, getting stuck in the midfield and the build-up play, obviously moving a lot deeper, and he still scored so many goals.
Yes. And often a lot of those goals coming when you would say that he wasn't the out-and-out goal scorer within that team, or he wasn't set up or designed to be the focal point that everything goes through to get him the goals.
Yeah.
Often he was playing as that 10 or a second striker or whatever, vocabulary you want to use, where he's trying to make things happen. But he's doing that as well as getting the goals.
Yeah.
So he's almost like, not an accidental amazing goal scorer, but it's almost like this second picture or this second thought of like, oh, he does a lot of things and he gets like the occasional goal. It's like, no, he does everything and he gets regular goals.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a bit of an interesting one for me.
We talk about like how nice players are on the eye. You talk about like real flashy players, like obviously like the Brazilian players tend to have that reputation where everyone deems them like really entertaining or get them in, like they got that little bit of flair or whatever, like a Coutinho or a Neymar or someone like that. I think Rooney's kind of the opposite side of that, where he's not going to be dribbling past players and taking them on with skill. He might, he's obviously like in his day pretty quick, pretty strong. He will just drive past players at times, but for that reason, I think people might look past him. I mean, is there a reason why you think he is so underrated, or people are quick to put someone else ahead of him?
I don't know if there's like a reason, but I think, there's those factors like we kind of touched on in that maybe he started for an Everton and made that jump quickly. I think he did put in a few transfer requests at different times whilst at United, and maybe towards the end fell out with Ferguson and things like that has maybe soured his viewpoint within United fans. Being, as I said, a Scouser playing for United, they're not necessarily drawn to him as much. If he was from anywhere else in the world apart from Liverpool, they wouldn't be shutting up about him. But the fact that he's from Liverpool, I think just taints it for those United fans a little bit. And then I think the England thing, as I say, is a stick that he's beaten with, which is not necessarily always his fault. One or two occasions, obviously the red card and things like that definitely didn't help. But, England were terrible and didn't achieve and all the rest of it. They're true, but that doesn't take away from how good of a player he was.
It's a really weird one. I feel like, in so many kind of fan debates where you're arguing about players and whatnot, where, you always got that bias towards your team and you argue where you might say, oh, yeah, we think Gerrard's better, and a United fan might say Scholes is better. This kind of feels like the flip where we would be there going like, Rooney is like one of your best ever players, and they might be there like, no, like I'd rather like a Ronaldo or a Scholes or a Kane. Something like that. But, as someone who you look at the broader picture, his stats speak for themselves. But then also in terms of like playing against these players, I mean, we're not on the pitch, but you're watching as a fan.
Yes, yeah. And you go on someone if we can sort out Rooney, we've got a chance. Or like he's bossing this game, or he's problematic every time he gets on the ball.
Like if someone like man marks him out of the game, or just keeps an eye on him, or you just keep him quiet, all of a sudden you're like, okay, we've got a chance now. Like, let these other guys have the ball. He's the one I'm worried about as a viewer. So it is kind of interesting, the dynamics kind of flipped. And again, probably like you said, like he's this guy from Liverpool in Manchester. And, as big as rivalry as the clubs are, like the cities are too. And, if he's probably from anywhere else, I think the United fans might get around him a bit more. For someone like a Liverpool fan, he's played for Everton and United, like, there's not really two other teams that, someone can play for that you think, like, these are two rivals. But, when it's all said and done and he's stopped playing, I think we're sitting here, like, taking our hats off to him going, this is probably, like, one of our biggest ever rivals in terms of, like, a player. And yeah, like you said, if only things were different and he was kind of born a Liverpool fan, maybe we would have got he might have come through and played for us and things could have been so different. But yeah, he's just kind of this generational talent. For someone who's currently England's top goal scorer, even like the English media don't really carry on too much about him. And I don't know if that's maybe surrounded by a few other negative things that might have happened in the past or whatever. But yeah, it feels like the whole country maybe, even like England fans aren't really getting behind him as much as they might a few others.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And, throughout time, I think there's been a lot, well, maybe not a lot, but quite a few English players who have that off-the-field controversies and this and that. You think about someone like even Paul Gascoigne, where they almost create this folklore around them, and like the media rightfully are like, okay, we need to get behind this player and support them and help them through troubled times. But with Wayne Rooney, anytime he's maybe, had some issues with alcohol or whatever else, it's sort of like, oh, Wayne Rooney. And it's like pushed aside. So it is an interesting one.
No, I definitely would think like of all players of the past, he's like a player that you're like, okay, I'm definitely worried about. Obviously, there's players that Liverpool have come up against who are incredible, the likes of Henry and whatnot. But it's almost like a mentality that Rooney's got as well, like the way he plays. That he's just going so hard into every tackle, and he's just so driven, and he's fighting for every chance. He's just like a handful to deal with, matched with all the ability in the world too to go with it.
Yeah.
And then coming on the scene so young and just being so incredible. And going all the way through.
I think that kind of sums things up perfectly for you there. I think we're probably in agreement. I know for me, I'm definitely happy to say it. He's probably who I put down as the most underrated player in the Premier League for me, history. Yeah. Definitely in with a shout. I'm going to stick my neck on the line and say he's probably definitely in my top 5 Premier League players of all time, potentially in that top 3 as well. What do you think, Ant?
Yeah, I think so. I think in terms of like United players, like they've had some world-class players, the likes of a Ronaldo and stuff, but they've kind of hit this peak and gone, and he's kind of had his peak with them. And yeah, I think the success speaks for itself. But even if someone just spent so long in the Premier League, he's a legend. But then all the goals, the assists, the trophies, I think he's done it all. And yeah, I think all the things we've obviously mentioned just now.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, he's definitely considered underrated because he's not the first name you hear out of people's mouths in terms of like who are these great like Premier League players. Especially, like I said, for the best team for 15, 20 years, he's like their highest goal scorer and he's quickly forgotten about, I think.
Yeah.
He's probably overshadowed by maybe some bigger names or bigger kind of brands or whatever.
Yeah. There you have it, guys. So let us know in the comments down below who you think may also be in with a shout for an underrated player. Obviously, you're going to mostly agree with what we said here today in this video.
Well, any United fans, I guess, give us your thoughts, whether you think there's a reason why he might be underrated or maybe you think he is talked about enough and we've just got we've just not heard a single thing about it.
Yeah, we've had a head in the sand.
Yeah, we've been living under a rock. Yeah, let us know your thoughts.
Cool. I think that was another classic Red, mate.
Yeah, it was Red, mate. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.